There's a town in the US where you can live in the mountains, wake up to fog rolling over cliffs, and still buy a house for less than the cost of a used minivan. Sounds impossible, right? Most people think Highland towns are only for millionaires or off-grid hermits. But tucked into America's hills and ridges are places so hidden, even Zillow barely knows they exist. You won't believe number 3. It's got waterfalls, no chain stores, and homes cheaper than an iPhone. Like this video so the algorithm stops thinking I live in a cave. And if you love off-the-map towns, hit subscribe. We're just getting started. Leadville is so high up, it's literally the highest incorporated city in the United States. Sitting at over 10,000 feet, this Colorado town is surrounded by towering peaks, alpine lakes, and pine forests that stretch for miles. But here's the kicker. You'd think a mountain town with this much beauty would be overrun with tourists and sky-high prices. It's not. You can still find homes here for under $300,000, sometimes even lower, if you don't mind a little fixer-upper charm. This town used to be a booming mining hub back in the 1800s. Today, it's a quirky blend of Wild West history and laid-back mountain living. Picture old saloons turned into bookstores, colorful Victorian homes, and a main street where people actually say hello. The air is crisp, the pace is slow, and in summer, the wildflowers explode across the hills like confetti. Winters are cold, no doubt, but locals here love it. Snowshoeing, skiing, and hot chocolate by a wood-burning stove kind of cold. Leadville is also surprisingly family-friendly. The crime rate is low, the schools are solid for a rural area, and there's a strong sense of community pride. You'll find small-town events, parades, local theater, and even a historic train that still runs through the mountains. It's the kind of place where kids ride their bikes without worry, and everyone knows the school principal by name. Of course, the altitude is no joke. Visitors sometimes get winded just walking up a flight of stairs. But once you adjust, the views, the clean air, and the mountain magic make it worth it. And if you think living above 10,000 feet is wild, wait until you see number 7, a town hidden in a rainforest where waterfalls cut through the trees and cottages peek out from the mist. Tucked deep inside the Blue Ridge Mountains is a town so lush, so peaceful, and so hidden that you'd miss it entirely if you blinked while driving. Welcome to Highlands, North Carolina, where waterfalls crash down right beside the road and cabins are buried in forests so thick they look like movie sets. Most people think North Carolina is just about beaches or flatlands, but Highlands flips that idea upside down. This place sits at over 4,000 feet elevation with cool mountain air and winding roads that twist through mossy hills. Here's where it gets crazy. Even with all this beauty, you can still find homes in the $250,000 to $300,000 range if you're smart, quick, and willing to live just outside the center. That's right. In a town where tourists book cabins for $400 a night, you could live here full-time without selling your kidneys. The best part? It's not just pretty. Highlands is safe, clean, and calm, with barely any crime and plenty of small-town warmth. Think local hardware stores where they still carry your bag to the car, and cafes where they know your order by week 2. The nature scenes are straight-up dreamlike. You've got Bridal Veil Falls, where cars literally drive behind the waterfall. There are hiking trails, fly fishing spots, and scenic overlooks that seem to go on forever. The streets are filled with art galleries, handmade chocolate shops, and boutiques that look like they belong in a Hallmark movie. But even with all the charm, there's no big city ego here. It's cozy, not crowded. Now there's a catch. Winters can be foggy and roads get slick, but if you're not trying to commute down a mountain every day, this is heaven. Still, this next town takes remote to a whole new level. It's got pine trees in the middle of the desert and the quietest streets you'll ever hear. Wait until you see number 6. You're not supposed to find pine forests in the middle of the desert, but in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, the rules don't apply. This tiny highland town sits over 8,600 feet above sea level, and it feels like someone cut out a chunk of Colorado and dropped it into the southwest. It's quiet, cool, and green, even while the desert bakes below. You'll drive up through the dry, dusty flats, and suddenly, everything turns lush, misty, and alpine. Welcome to one of the most surprising small towns in America. Cloudcroft isn't just weird in a good way, it's also wildly affordable. You can still grab a cozy cabin or bungalow for under $200,000, sometimes even less if you're willing to go a little outside town. And here's the kicker, it's safe. Like lock your doors more out of habit than need kinda safe. Families raise kids here with no fear, and the community is tight-knit, friendly, and full of character. The kind of place where the post office clerk asks how your mom's doing, Even if she lives in another state, there's a rustic charm to everything. The main street has an old wooden boardwalk vibe. There are wild elk that wander through town, and the air smells like pine mixed with chimney smoke. In winter, it snows, real snow, and locals hit the nearby ski slope or sip hot cider by the fire. Summers, cool, breezy, and perfect for porch sitting. No humid misery, no blazing triple digits. The trade-off? It's remote. Don't expect a Costco run, but that's what makes Cloudcroft so magical. No noise, no rush, just peace. And speaking of peaceful, the next town is an artsy mountain hideout with trails, murals, and houses under $180,000. You won't believe number 5. At first glance, Davis, West Virginia looks like a sleepy little mountain town where nothing really happens. But stick around for a day, and you'll realize this place is quietly one of the most creative, rugged, and affordable Highland towns in the country. It sits 3,100 feet up, surrounded by thick forests, winding trails, and a fog that rolls in like a scene from a storybook. But what makes Davis special isn't just the scenery, it's the vibe. It's got a small population, but a huge personality. Here, old timber buildings are splashed with local art, bikes outnumber cars, and the coffee shop doubles as a music venue. It's the kind of town where people wear hiking boots to brunch and talk about trail maintenance like it's the weather. Nature is a way of life, with Black Waterfalls State Park and the Canaan Valley National Wildlife Refuge right next door. You've got waterfalls, ski runs, and hiking trails within minutes. And the best part? The houses. You can still find properties under $180,000. And yes, that's with a porch, a yard, and real walls, not plywood. Davis is also a family safe zone. Crime is almost non-existent, and locals look out for each other like it's still the 1950s. Kids ride bikes without fear, and nobody honks their horn unless it's to wave hello. It's also home to an unexpected food scene. Think wood-fired pizza, funky microbreweries, and fresh mountain trout that puts coastal seafood to shame. The one thing to know, it snows. A lot, but locals wear that like a badge of honor. More snow just means more skiing and cozier nights. And if you think Davis is quirky, wait until you see the town literally built into a cliff. Number 4 is straight out of a movie. Jerome isn't just a town, it's a vertical time machine clinging to the side of a mountain. Perched nearly 5,000 feet up on Cleopatra Hill, this former ghost town in Arizona is now one of the most mind-bending hidden gems in the country. From a distance, it looks like an old mining outpost frozen in time. Up close, it's a maze of crooked buildings, stair-step streets, and views that stretch for 100 miles. And somehow, despite the views, the history, and the wild personality, you can still buy a home here for under $250,000. Jerome used to be one of the richest towns in the West thanks to copper mining, but when the mines shut down, people left, and the town nearly died. Then the artist moved in, and that's when things got weird in the best way. Today, Jerome is full of haunted hotels, art galleries and old saloons, and quirky shops that sell everything from handmade pottery to taxidermy frogs wearing top hats. It's like walking through an old Western movie set, directed by Tim Burton. Families here enjoy safety, quiet, and one of the most unique backdrops you could imagine. There's a strong sense of community, and even though the streets are steep, people stroll around like it's flat. You'll see kids running through narrow alleys, neighbors waving from their porches, and shopkeepers who double as town historians. But here's the catch. It's hilly, like really hilly. Strollers? Forget it. Parking? Good luck. But once you're home, the sunsets alone are worth the weird layout. Jerome is peaceful, strange, artistic, and unlike any other town on this list. And if you thought this was steep, wait until number 3. It's a town where the fog eats the roads and the population barely hits 3 digits. Imagine living in a town where Wi-Fi is banned, cell service is non-existent, and the quiet is so intense you can actually hear the wind whisper through the trees. Welcome to Green Bank, West Virginia. Population, barely 130. But this isn't just a sleepy mountain village. Green Bank is home to the Green Bank Telescope, one of the largest radio telescopes on Earth, and because of it, the entire area is protected by law from electromagnetic interference. That means no phones, no Bluetooth, and no microwave signals. It's like stepping into a Highland twilight zone, in the best way. Now here's what makes it even wilder. Despite the extreme quiet and isolation, homes here are shockingly affordable. It's not rare to see properties listed for under $150,000 with land, trees, and actual space to breathe. And even though it sounds remote and eerie, the town is incredibly safe, especially for families. People know each other by name. Kids grow up climbing trees, exploring the woods, and reading books instead of staring at screens. It's a digital detox by law. Green Bank is tucked into the Allegheny Highlands, where the roads curve through dense forest and the clouds often settle low over the hills like a blanket. There's a quiet rhythm to life here. Wood stoves crackling, birdsong at sunrise, neighbors chatting on porches, and for some that's paradise. It's one of the few places left in America where you can live truly off the radar, without giving up civilization entirely. Of course, if you're glued to TikTok or panic when Google Maps doesn't load, this might feel like exile. But for those who crave calm and connection, Green Bank offers something you won't find anywhere else. Still, if silence isn't your thing, the next town is just as scenic but filled with festivals, food trucks, and mountain charm. Number 2 might be the happiest little town you've never heard of. If there were a prize for the most colorful Highland town in America, Eureka Springs would win it with glitter and a marching band. Nestled in the Ozark Mountains at 1,270 feet elevation, this town feels like a living fairy. The streets curve like rivers, the houses look like dollhouses stacked on cliffs, and nearly every building is covered in bright paint, hanging plants, or hand-carved signs. It's weird, wonderful, and nothing like the rest of Arkansas, in the best way possible. Eureka Springs is packed with Victorian charm, quirky boutiques, haunted hotels, and an energy that feels like a festival never quite ended. Locals throw parades for nearly everything, from art to UFOs to antique cars. And for a town with only about 2,000 residents, it punches way above its weight and personality. But it's not just fun, it's safe. Families walk the hills without fear, and strangers turn into neighbors fast. Now the real surprise, you can still find homes here for around $230,000. Sometimes less if you're okay with a fixer-upper or a cabin just outside the main strip. That's not bad when you consider how touristy and popular this town's become. And despite the visitors, Eureka Springs protects its small-town soul. Chain restaurants are basically outlawed, and independent shops rule the day. Of course, it's not flat. You're going to walk uphill a lot. Parking can feel like a mini workout, but that's part of the charm. You don't come here to coast, you come here to live in a postcard. And somehow, despite all this charm, it still doesn't top the list. Because town number 1, it's higher, quieter, and almost too perfect to be real. If the US had a secret Switzerland, it would be Ouray, Colorado. This Highland town is carved into a box canyon at 7,792 feet, surrounded by dramatic cliffs, waterfalls, and jagged peaks that look like they were designed by a fantasy map artist. The locals call it the Switzerland of America, and for once, the nickname isn't exaggerated. Every direction you look, there's a view so perfect it feels fake. But here's the real shocker. Homes can still be found under $300,000, especially if you're open to smaller places or nearby properties just outside town limits. Ouray is peaceful, but not sleepy. It's got geothermal hot springs that bubble year-round, a charming main street with historic brick buildings, and a calendar packed with festivals, jeep tours, and ice climbing events. Yes, ice climbing. This town turns frozen waterfalls into playgrounds, yet somehow it never loses its cozy small-town feel. Locals know each other. Kids play freely. Crime is nearly non-existent. And when the sun sets over those red cliffs, it's the kind of quiet that hits you deep. There's something almost surreal about how well Ouray balances wild mountain adventure with calm, everyday living. You can hike in the morning, soak in hot springs at lunch, and still be home for dinner with a view of the Milky Way. The downtown feels untouched. The air is crisp, and the entire place smells like pine and mineral water. But here's the catch. You're remote. No big box stores, no fast food. Grocery runs might mean a drive down the mountain, but ask anyone who lives here if it's worth it, and they'll just smile like they know a secret you don't. If you've made it this far, drop a comment below. Which town surprised you most? And would you ever trade city noise for Highland peace? Don't forget to like this video so more folks find it, and subscribe if you're ready for a quieter, wilder America.